Hello, folks. This is your coronavirus and political update for the 8th of February. All right, first things first, coronavirus. The trend has not changed. There's no new data, and again, we are rapidly running out of time for this thing to be a high R0 transmission value in the United States. However, we have some bad news. One of them is that one piece of bad news is that apparently we allowed a cruise ship to dock with people that were suspected to be infected with coronavirus and disperse into the population in New Jersey. You better hope we're right about that, because if not, in about another week, we're going to start to see cases here in the United States from casual contact, and it's going to be bad. So sadly, I must report that we are extending the watch time here before we can say that things are reasonably expected to be under control. The second thing is we got people whining about the quarantine in Japan on that other cruise ship. I got to tell you, oh my God, Mr. Trump, you must come help us. We're stuck on this boat and we can't get off, and by God, it is a disaster. You know what? You people can go suck eggs. Okay, you really can, and I mean it. And the reason I say that is that this is just this is insanity. Okay, that you guys are all bent out of shape about this. I'm sorry, but the reality is that if you are infected and asymptomatic, letting you back loose into the general population until that time has run is stupid. And I understand that people don't like the idea of being quarantined. Listen, I wouldn't like it either, but I got to tell you that at some point, public health gets in front of this thing. And if you want to be the person that comes into the United States and causes 500,000 deaths, well, you know what? Then I would give you the alternative, which is we'll release you from the quarantine, but if you cause it, we're going to execute you with all of your victims' families who end up sick as a result of it, being able to kill you by virtue of using a razor blade. In other words, they get to flens you while you're tied up on a pole, and you get it the low, hard, nasty way. Unfortunately, that would probably violate the cruel and unusual punishment constraint in the Constitution. Damn those people. It is cruel and unusual punishment. It would be cruel, that's for sure. Unfortunately, that one probably qualifies as unusual too. I'm kind of bummed about that. All right. Man. All right, second thing is the Democrat debate last night and the party and where it's gone and what it means for all of us, for everybody in America. Folks, this is a flat-out disaster in the making here. I get it. People want, Bernie Sanders. Folks, if you are one of the crazies that would imprison or kill those who disagree with you politically, then I hope you realize what you're asking for. You really are asking to start a civil war in this country, because the rest of us are not going to go quietly. And if you think you're going to cancel us or whatever, or throw us out of our jobs and dispossess us of all of our possessions and end up throwing us in the street, and that way it'll make us docile. No, it won't. As soon as that stuff starts, what's going to happen is there's going to be a war. So if this is your intent, if this is really what you think, because we're not going to agree with you, political disagreement is nothing new. It's as old as politics. But if you get to the point that political disagreement means you have a right to murder, then at that point, you have declared that you're not a civilized individual. That's what you've said. I know, you're going to, oh no, Carl, you're misinterpreting. I'm not misinterpreting anything. If that is your position, that is what you've said. And if that's what you believe, if that is the true belief that you hold, then I just hope you're ready for the consequences, because you're going to get them. And anyone who thinks you're not, you're crazy. You are going to get those consequences. They're going to be bad. They might be really, really bad, but I guarantee you they're going to be bad. What is wrong with people? Is this country really that fooked that we think this kind of thing is a are we back to the weathermen where we're blowing shit up because we don't like what somebody thinks? I think we're awfully close. You know, the Virginia legislature doesn't understand shall not be infringed. I don't think that one's very complicated. But then again, this one's our fault too on the right, folks. If you're on the right, or if you're a so-called moderate, you actually believe the Constitution means what it says, that those words are actually meaningful. They have meaning, damn it. If you're one of those people, you're responsible for this. Because you allowed the crazies in our government for years, decades, starting with Miller, to ignore shall not be infringed. You sat on your ass and you let it happen. It all goes back to the Miller Supreme Court case. Miller was a fraud, a knowing fraud. The government perpetrated a knowing intentional fraud upon the Supreme Court of the United States, and then they built upon that decision and stare decisis, which is a policy of the Supreme Court. They never went, no one was ever held accountable for that fraud. It wasn't an accident. For those of you that need to be reminded again, and not like I haven't written about this 30 or 40 times over the 10 years or so that I've been doing the ticker, and spoken about it on podcasts and also in public speeches as well. The fraud that was perpetrated was that Miller was indigent by the time his case got to the Supreme Court. He was unable to attend and unable to have representation. He was arrested for possessing a short-barreled shotgun, which the government said had no valid militia purpose, and therefore it could be regulated under federal law because it wasn't a militia weapon. The truth is, it was a militia weapon. It was a military and a militia weapon. The government knew this. How did they know this? Because they'd ordered thousands of short-barreled shotguns to be used in trench warfare in World War I. And they were used in trench warfare. Gee, I wonder why. When you're going on trench with a little bit of room, not a whole lot, right? You know, it's about the width of your elbows. You come upon a bad guy, you better not have a rifle that is so big that you can't swing it without hitting the walls of the trench, or the guy that you come upon is probably going to shoot you before you can shoot him. That means you lose, and in war, that's bad. So they ordered a bunch of short-barrel shotguns for exactly this reason, because a shotgun is an almost perfect weapon for that kind of function. All right, you know, it's not just close is good enough, but you know what? A loaded double-aught buck in your face is probably going to result in you having a really bad day. But no, we did nothing about that. We did nothing about the Gun Control Acts, the original one. I think it was 1934. And then the Gun Control Act 1968. And then the Brady Law. And you know, and all the others. Okay? The assault weapons ban under Clinton. I mean, yeah, there's law after law after law after law. And by the way, do you want to tabulate this all up? I mean, you know, founding of the BATFE. Okay? And its expansion. It used to be BATF. Then they added the E on the end. You know, explosives. Right? Shall not be infringed. It's very simple. It doesn't really say anything more complicated than that. And incidentally, the Supreme Court has upheld that it is an individual right. It's not a collective right. Well, if it's an individual right and shall not be infringed means what it says, how hard is this to figure out? But no, you can't do that because some criminal might get a gun. Gee, you know, he's a criminal. Is he really going to care where he gets the gun? He breaks into your house and steals it, or kills you and takes yours. Does he really care? I mean, we call them criminals because they ignore the law, right? I mean, that is the reason we call people criminals. But somehow, this is all going to be different when it comes to guns. It's all going to be different. Well, you know what? Ignoring the Constitution for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, nearly 100 of them at this point when it comes to firearms, leads to exactly the situation that we face now in Virginia, and it leads to exactly the situation that we're going to be facing with the Democrats. And you know, folks, it gives me no pleasure to say that. I think the Democrat Party is winding up to be just something slightly on the right side of Nazism. I find it difficult to believe, really, that you have a major political, you know, that there's fringe groups. There's always going to be fringe groups. Like the Branch Davidians, you know, whatever you happen to think of what Janet Reno did, I think she should go in prison for it. The fact of the matter is that it does appear that guy was raping little girls. Okay, that he thought that was a good idea, that basically he was entitled to sleep with anybody that was 13 years older, and he was doing it. Now, do I support the raid? No, because he also made a habit of going into town, and it would have been really easy to just arrest him. But now, we had to have some excuse to get rid of these evil Christians. And Janet Reno got away with that. All right. You got the bullshit that was pulled on Randy Weaver. All right. That went with no real compensation. I mean, there's lawsuits and everything. Yeah, okay. Lawsuits don't bring back dead people, folks. Putting people in prison, at least if you jail them for life, there's some compensation, right? I mean, you gave up your life, so that person gives up theirs. They get to live it out in a jail cell. Hopefully, maybe we could throw some Bubba in there a little bit so they get a little pain to go along with it, because you obviously didn't enjoy being murdered. But, no, we can't actually enforce the Constitution, the clear words. They don't leave a lot to the imagination. They really don't. But no, we can't do that. We can't do that in America. By God, nope, and nope. All right, folks. All right, I understand. It means it's hard. It means that you have to decide that the peaceful options, if petitioning for redress doesn't work. Let's face it, we haven't even really had a petition, right? There's been the march on the Washington Mall. Has there been one? Not really. All right. So the petition hasn't even been filed. But let's say that the petition gets filed and the federal government tells us to pound sand. Then what do? Well, you still have some peaceful options left. You have a general strike. You have the ability to actively boycott everything and anything in an attempt to destroy the federal government's finances and the trust in the Treasury market through peaceful means. Incidentally, that is not only lawful, it's really effective, because Congress can turn around and say, "Oh, no, you can't make us do whatever." Oh, yes, you can, because at the point that Congress can't spend any money because they can't sell debt, what's left? And the Fed goes out there and starts literally monetizing, bare naked out there as an admission that, hey, the people have rejected the government, and so we're going to do the same way. You know what happens internationally once that happens? With the flow of funds in it, you know what happens to the stock market? You know what happens to Donald Trump and his reputation and loving the stock market going up? Yeah, okay. Is fomenting something like that a really serious act? Yeah, it is. But you know what? It's lawful. There's no violence. Nobody can force you to engage in commerce. Oh, wait, we let that happen too with Wickard v. Filburn, didn't we? We did. So what's left, folks? I'm running short on options, but I'll tell you what, we got Bolsheviks running in the next election, and they're willing to kill you if you disagree with them. The stridency, we're beyond just political disagreement. Political disagreement is nothing new. Right? Anyone that thinks that sort of rancor is a new thing, no, it's not. But what the Democrats tried to do with this impeachment wasn't just remove a president that they thought had committed some kind of high crime or misdemeanor, because they couldn't come up with one, especially Count 2. Count 2 didn't even allege a high crime or misdemeanor. Count 2 said that an attempt to exert a long-standing, 200-plus year long-standing privilege, instead of running it to the ground through the legal process, which is what you're supposed to do, nope, we're just going to declare that a cause to be eliminated. In other words, we're going to rewrite the Constitution to essentially give you a parliamentary heckler's veto, just like parliamentary systems have. No confidence vote. But the Constitution bars those. A blatantly unconstitutional act. But is anybody going to raise hell about that? No, not a word. Not one word. All right, folks. There you go. So, anyway, that's all I got for today. Coronavirus, unfortunately, I now have to extend the shit deadline in the United States to the end of next week. I wish I didn't have to do that. I'm really pissed off about it, but I have to do it. So there you are. For the time being, may have a wonderful day, and let's hope it doesn't get going over here. Talk to you soon.